13 Questions by Man Transcending. Manhood in the Digital Age.
Welcome back to 13 Questions. On this episode, we are going to be interviewing Graham Dunlop of the Grimerica Show podcast. This episode is really introspective. It's with one of my favorite people on the planet. If you're not a member of 13 Questions yet, you might end up being after this episode. Graham's interview is super honest, and I think most of you out there are going to enjoy it. So, who is Graham Dunlop? Well, Graham worked his way up the corporate ladder in aerospace for 13 years before crashing down. He worked hard and played hard for years in work, life, and travel. Graham plays World Championship Footbag Net as well as competitive ball hockey, having competed in 8 national championships and 2 world championships in the late 90s to mid-2000s. Eventually, this pace took its toll and the abuse of drugs and alcohol became too much. He got clean and sober in 2008 and started his own business for a few years before moving to Calgary to work in the steel business with his extended family. Graham traveled through Europe and the Middle East for 10 months in 1990, where he had a multi-witness UFO sighting permanently change his paradigm. He has always been interested in spiritual matters, taking a meditation course, a college course on UFOs in the mid-90s, as well as CSETI's training to learn more about UFOs and their occupants. This spiritual interest helped Graham maintain sobriety while increasing his knowledge and interest in the occult, spiritual, and esoteric matters. Single and seeking growth in Calgary, Graham tried many things to increase his awareness: sweat lodges, shamanic breath and sound work, various types of meditation, Reiki levels 1 through 3, all of which have led towards Grimerica. Obsessed with learning and podcasting, he started his own with Darren in 2013, which grew a loving community of people around it. 11 years later, he is still clean and sober and in a happy relationship. He currently lives in Calgary, working in the steel industry, helping people in recovery, and hosting the Grimerica Show podcast, as well as this show, 13 Questions. If you want to become a member and gain access to the bonus questions, which come right after we do the interview, head on over to 13questionspodcast.com, sign up, get the $200 in communication courses written by TJ Walker. You can join the community forum, sign up to receive prompted writing exercises to your email, and you have the opportunity to record your own 13 Questions podcast with whomever you think would be a great guest. Could be a family member, a mentor, anybody that you want to hear answer the questions. If the quality is up to snuff, you'll see it in the feed. We found that when you get people just to answer these questions honestly, everybody has wisdom to share. And that's it. So thank you for listening to 13 Questions. I hope you enjoy this interview from my good friend, Graham Dunlop. All right, welcome back to 13 Questions. We have Graham Dunlop with us. Graham, how's it going?
Hey, I'm doing well.
Awesome.
It's exciting, a little nervous.
Yeah, the questions are a bit daunting, and you've had plenty of time to mull them over, so more time to get nervous about it.
I know that's the problem. When I've been asking him, I'm like, how would I answer that question? I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know.
Well, the problem is also, and once you hear so many of the podcasts, you reevaluate the question and the answers, and they get a little more in-depth and more nuanced, and then it gets more daunting because you're like, no, this is like, it's not just a simple question.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, well, you ready to jump in?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. What was the best advice ever given to you, and would you modify it at all today?
I don't think I'd modify it, and it's pretty simple. But I mean, I got to keep thinking back to my dad was telling me to be present. Like he used to tell me to be present all the time, and I think it was more of when he was teaching me to. He's not teaching me formally or anything like that, but he was in I followed him in business for a while. Like after he passed away, I ended up working in the same industry as him for a while, and we used to just bounce ideas off each other and stuff like that. And I think he meant it in like a business meeting sense. Like I think he was like, stay present with people in those meetings. But he also would obviously say that, in life in general. And I listened to it. I think it clicked at the time, but I didn't realize how profound that simple advice was until a few years afterwards.
So do you find yourself spending more time in the moment or trying to
Yeah.
not focus on all the craziness going around and just live the
Yeah.
second?
Yeah, exactly.
What was the most important lesson you learned from your parents?
And this was a tough one because I was thinking, like, you hear some of these, it might not be an intentional lesson. It could be like a negative lesson that you learned, or instead of it being a positive one, or maybe it's something that your parents should have done. But I think the most important lesson from them was they were both pretty supportive and open-minded about what I was doing with my life or what I wanted to do. Like, there was never any rigid, like, you must do this, you must be this way. I mean, I had some troubles with curfews and all the regular shit. Like, my parents seemed stricter than all my friends' parents when I was growing up. But other than those issues, I feel like they had an open mind as far as like spirit and science and all that stuff went, and they are also very supportive about just being there for you. So I guess that's all I'd have to say about that.
That make you rebellious at all? Because I know you kind of had a little wild party side in your 20s.
I don't think it did. I don't think that had anything to do with my alcoholic addiction issues. I don't think so. Maybe.
What book has been the most influential on your life and why?
Well, speaking of addiction issues, I mean, I think about all the books that I read and all the ones that have had an impact, and I can't really think past. And it's going to sound cliche and a little new agey and all that, but there's one Eckhart Tolle's in New Earth, and it was "Awakening to Your Life Purpose" was the subtitle, and I was reading that during the end of my addiction, and I brought it with me to this treatment center. And I think so. I think it had a critical impact on me because it was at the stage that I became clean and sober. And I was reading it in the treatment center. Like, I was just being a bit of a geek, to be honest with you. I look back now and I go, oh, what was I doing? But I would pull that out and find quotes out of it and read it in front of the group and stuff like that. Like, that's how, I guess, much at the time. I mean, I haven't read it in quite a few years, but how much at the time that book meant so much to me that I was willing to read it aloud to like 20 people in group therapy or whatever. So, and then there's other books along that kind of vein. Like, I was thinking about one called The Four Agreements. I don't know if you ever heard about that one.
No, I haven't.
Super simple book. Like, in some ways, almost too simple, but the four agreements being pretty difficult, but be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personal. Don't make assumptions, and always do your best. They sound pretty simple, but it's difficult in a way, not to take things personal, not to make assumptions. But when you read that book and you realize that those four principles are pretty powerful in amongst themselves. So it's kind of a bit of a toss up between those two.
Love it. What daily habits or rituals do you have, and do you recommend them to others?
Another good question, because I was trying to think of, I'm always trying to add daily rituals, but I never seem to be able to make them daily. I mean, I have weekly rituals for sure, meditation and some intentional work, that kind of thing. Definitely happens every couple of days. But the only daily thing I do, when I think about it, that hasn't wavered is every morning when I get up, I ask for help to stay clean and sober that day. Like, that's just even though it's not, doesn't mean that I'm in that victim state or anything like that, or that I have to think about it. It's just like, when I just ask for help in the morning, and at night I say thanks. Like, that's the one ritual that I pretty much will not miss out on. And then all the rest of it's just gravy on, as far as just meditation or intentional work or exercise or other sort of healthy things.
If I were to ask your best friend, what is the one thing they would say you need to work on the most, and why?
This is a tough one. I forgot to think about this one. I skipped over it. I think they would say what I need to work on the most. I don't know. Probably have to be probably it goes back to that daily routine. Like, you know, I've explored a lot with a lot of different things and I've tried a lot of different things, but whether they stick to my daily routine, like I think they would say work on my ambiguity and stop talking about stuff, just do it. And it's not that I don't do things, but I think there's a few things I'm stuck with in life, some pretty big stuff, and this is going to come up later on in these questions a little bit, where what I would say to my younger self probably, but I think to kind of like shit or get off the pot kind of thing. I mean, before I got clean and sober, a couple guys that I was close to told me like get your shit together kind of stuff, and that was, I don't need to get my shit together now, but it was that kind of thing. Like they were probably sick of hearing me complain or be a victim about a certain thing. So I would say they would say just get out of that state of ambiguity.
Some good friends, man.
Yeah. I think about those two guys that like they saw me at the end and they're like, dude, get your shit together.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's always an interesting line when you have somebody and there's a hard truth that needs to be delivered, because the delivery can always be devastating and send you down different paths, and the truth can always set you free.
That's right.
What are you most curious about?
And this one evolves. I mean, right now, I think it would be about spiritual alchemy and magic or intention. And I still can't really define spiritual alchemy, but I'm sort of reading, learning about it, talking to some guests on our podcast about it. And it's really resonating. And a lot of it comes back down again to meditation. Like everything I'm learning about seems to come back to meditation, having some sort of mindfulness practice or some sort of concentration practice. Like right now, it seems to be a lot about concentration, like just being able to focus your thoughts on some intention or something, mantra or whatever it is. It seems more powerful than I've ever really recognized. So that's what I'm curious about now. But I mean, I'm come out of curiosity about other larger conspiracies or UFOs. I mean, that's been a big part of my life too, that I'm curious about that kind of stuff. But my interests are varied, and there's too many of them right now.
How often do you do your not CSETI but the CE5?
Once a month. I try to do that once a month.
How do they go out every weekend type thing?
Well, it's tough because in the winter, like, so we missed the last couple months due to the weather. We'll go out in -5 and look for UFOs, but if it's cloudy and snowy and -5, then probably not. But if it's, if it's kind of like clear skies and there's not too much snow around, then we might go out. So, I mean, we're looking forward to like April, May, doing it a little bit more.
Do you ever try to go out not with your group, but take that same intention just in the evening, in the middle of the night, go out and do the classic look straight up and see if your attention?
Yeah, I've tried it before. Yeah, it doesn't seem to work by myself.
Now I find myself at like 2-3 in the morning. Anytime I'm out, I'll go outside with the intention and just look up, and that's it. At least I get the nice fresh air and the stars.
Yeah, I mean, friends of mine that are within the CE5 community, they do it and they see stuff all the time. They see flash bulbs and stuff. I don't really see them on my own. I mean, I live in the city right now, so it is not like it's not very conducive to that, and I don't go out enough. But whenever I have, I don't.
Huh? You guys might be getting the northern lights here tonight. We've got a coronal mass ejection hitting, so I don't know. Might get some good, nice stuff out there. What was the most embarrassing experience of your life?
I had many. Those moments where I'd wake up, be in somewhere, hotel room or somewhere, and wondering what the fuck happened the night before, and that, thank God that's not really a thing. But if I look back to like those moments where, like right now, I don't think much can embarrass me. Like I really don't give a shit anymore. It's not, I don't know. I can't really see what would really embarrass me. But as a kid, I mean, I was playing European handball in the school gym at lunchtime. So this would be like 1986, 85. Did you hear the story at all?
I have, and I have some questions.
No. So we're playing European handball. I'm in my rugby pants. And everybody in the stands, like a bunch of people would watch in the stands, you know. And there a bunch of people are laughing, and we're playing. I keep playing for like 2 minutes, and I'm wondering why everybody's laughing. And then I walk up the steps to the bleachers, and then to grab my lunch, and I look down. There's a gaping hole, like my pants were ripped, like right in half. So I was running around with ripped rugby pants.
Now, were you going commando, or did you have like an embarrassing color of drawers on?
Yeah, I can't remember that. I can't remember that part.
Yeah, the least important details of the event.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think I was definitely wearing underwear, but I mean, when you're 15, like that doesn't matter. It's just the fact that it happened in front of like, you know, maybe 50 or 100 people.
All the girls know what your undies like and if they were clean.
Yeah, exactly.
What is your greatest fear and how do you overcome it?
I've been thinking about this lately about, do I have a fear of success or a fear of failure? And I think it's tied around money a little bit. Is like, I'd really like to just provide for my girlfriend. You know, she's not really well a lot to work. So, I mean, I'd really just like to provide for us both to have a decent life. And I feel like there's a fear around that, like just being able to do that. Because I've analyzed like fear of failure, and there's a little bit there, but it doesn't seem so prevalent. And then I'm like, well, maybe there's a fear of success, like, and that doesn't seem to be there, I don't think. But there's some sort of thing there. But I mean, similar to the embarrassment thing, as far as other fears that I would have had in life or whatever, like now I just don't seem to fear much. You know, I don't have any like physical fears or any, you know, fear of death or fear of, I don't think I have any.
So there's nothing like
fears.
Heights or enclosed spaces, nothing that just races your heart.
Like
that's amazing.
Yeah, nothing like that.
Not even dogs or anything like that.
No fears, no.
Wow, that's so stinking cool, man. That's good. No wonder you have such a cool head. What quality do you most admire in a man and why?
I think honesty has to be up there. It comes up quite a bit. Authenticity, like genuineness. I mean, also assertiveness. I know the question is only like which one, but I feel like an honest, you know, genuine, assertive man is important in today's world. And compassionate. I mean, you know, all those cliche things, but really there's no reason why you can't be assertive and compassionate and honest and you know, with lots of integrity, like that kind of thing.
Who were or are your role models and why?
I think my dad was I think when he passed away, I remember thinking my dad was like the guy I looked up to the most in the world. Like when I went to a job interview at this aircraft overhaul company, they said, if he's anything like his father, you better hire him. Cause like my dad had worked there for years before that. So I remember I'll never forget that, just going, wow, like he must've been pretty cool to work for as well. You know, that they were like willing to hire me just based on being his son.
What an amazing wake to follow.
Yeah. So that was, I'd say that's my guy, my role model.
Now, is he your role model before he passed? Or is that something that kind of just grew into where you just realized that he really was that?
I think you're right. I grew into it afterwards, more so. You know, I mean, I always loved him and we got along and I'd ask him for advice and we'd talk about shit, but I don't think I realized that until afterwards.
What institution of society or structural aspect of modern life would you change given the chance?
So this is another one of these I was thinking about originally when I'd ask people these questions, I'd be like, I think that the whole like science of consciousness and materialism, like that whole structural problem that we have right now, the hard problem of consciousness and the scientism that's going on was it up there for me. But then I would think about, big pharma and the drug war. Like if I could snap my fingers, which one of these things would it be? Media and the government, unelected officials in the UN, the EU, that kind of infrastructure that's happening. I mean, but I think that when it comes down to it, when I'm thinking about what could be the most beneficial to the world, I have to say that if we could snap our fingers and say, get rid of fractional reserve and the central banking problem. I mean, we are all the nations, maybe except a couple that haven't quite succumbed to the beast yet, are in debt. There was a time when they would lend money at a flat fee. Like here's whatever the cost. Like here's $100,000 and pay me 1,000 or whatever percent maybe, or whatever flat fee, and that's it. Right now we're just creating money out of nothing to go into further debt, and we're all, I've got debt issues personally. All the countries are in debt, and I feel like that is one of the overarching problems. They've got us fighting over, races and genders and political views and censorship and all this bullshit stuff along the surface, when really we're all debt slaves, including the nations. And that wasn't always like that. Canada wasn't like that until 71 or something like that. Like they had Canada used to have their own money. When you listen to Paul Hellyer and these guys talk about what it was like, after the war, when they built the highway and all that, based on basically debt-free money created by the government, not through a bank, and charging the government. So I think that's the biggest structural problem that we have.
That's more than even just like a today problem. This is a system that goes back thousands of years, really unchanged, and just, morphing and still keeping that same control.
Well, it's changed now because it's now the debt is escalating at a rate that you would have never thought of before. And I mean, and even though the system's been around for decades, like if Canada could still create its own currency not too long ago, it's, that's a huge change. That's not just,
well, I guess we live in the world of economic hitmen too, where, governments can move into another country and hijack, the entire infrastructure, hold people to fresh, clean water and utilities and own them.
Exactly.
What is the most courageous thing you have ever done or seen in your life?
Well, this probably comes back to the addiction, alcoholism thing. I mean, that did get pretty bad for me. And I think that just pulling the rug out from that and getting clean and sober had to be probably, if I look at all the other courageous things I've done, that's probably got to be the one, that changed me, and seeing all the other people that you meet in that recovery process, all the success stories and all the people that have made it through that battle. A lot of courage there. Yeah, I'd have to say that was it. That actually was 11 years ago in 2 days. It'll be 11 years.
Was what scared you the lack of the substance? What aspect was it? Was it the changing your life, having to face the reasons why you were doing that? Because that's all in the recovery. Or was it like a fear of not having that crutch?
No, it wasn't even that. It was a inability to stop using. Like the choice was gone. The choice to use or not was gone. So it's just, I couldn't even go into depth about why.
No, I get it.
That blockage was there. It's just the choice was completely gone. Actually, it took just sticking with the father thing and all that. The story about that divine intervention that I think happened that night was, I don't usually get into it outside of like recovery talk, but That night that everything fell apart for me was the night my girlfriend at the time knew that there was something serious going on, but I was hiding everything from her. She took my dad's picture. She didn't know my dad. She had actually been to my funeral because she was dating my dad's funeral. She was dating a friend of mine at the time. And she took his picture off the wall or off the mantle and prayed to him and said, if there's something wrong with Graham, I don't know what it is, like if there's anything you could do to help, kind of thing. And that morning is when everything came crumbling down. Like that night, basically, that morning, everything came crumbling down. And that's when I surrendered and kind of asked for help. So kind of a weird little.
That's my least favorite thing. And I think I heard Glenn Beck say it a long time ago that, it's the classic. You got to hit rock bottom at some point before you can look up and, see where you got to go. Like you don't know until you're there. I think his description was, when I've lost my family and I'm not getting them back and I'm in a hotel. And then it's like, it has to change. That's powerful.
Yeah. And when she came downstairs and I was sleeping on the couch and she woke me up and I could see that look in her eyes, like the gig was up, like she knew no matter how hard that was, it was still a weight off my shoulders. It was like, okay, like I can come clean up. I can't do it on my own anymore because I tried so many times to fix it on my own so that I didn't have to disclose how fucked up I was to everybody.
Wow. Well, that's powerful, man. The fact that you made that choice, that's really where it is. When you choose to fix yourself, the power is there. That's cool, dude. What rule do you have for yourself that you never break, and why do you think that is?
Well, and that goes back to that same thing. So it's basically no drugs or alcohol. I can see my addictive tendencies through food and sex and other things, but the drugs and alcohol thing is just it's a no-brainer now. Like abstinence, and why I think that is important is because of the abstinence model. I believe in the abstinence model of addiction. That I don't want to be triggering anything. I don't want to be playing around with a couple of these here and there, a couple of those here and there. Like it's just going to go back to like basically what they say is your addiction's doing push-ups in the parking lot, waiting for you, and that's pretty much true. I mean, I've heard so many stories of people that just start playing around with it and they just go right back to where they were before. So the abstinence part is important for me. And that, for me, that includes psychedelics or pot or anything like that. I mean, it doesn't get to caffeine or, but I mean, smoking would be in there for me as well. I just came off of I'm almost coming up on 3 months of no sugary sweets and wheat.
Really? Awesome. I was just about to ask about that.
But that's difficult. I mean, I'm not noticing as much as I thought from the no sugary sweets. So I don't know how long I'm going to go, but I wanted to make it to 3 months at least just to see what kind of changes.
Have you been measuring any of your body counts or doing ketones or anything like that to see where you're?
No, just the scale, just the weight.
Nice. Well, I've had some great success as of late doing intermittent fasting.
Yeah, I tried that. It didn't seem to make that much of a difference for me, so I kind of slipped out of it. But I should really try that again.
What quality should a man strive for in today's world?
I think that comes back to the quality I most admire in a man is I think men should strive for honesty and integrity. I think that above all else, like if you don't have that, then what hope do you have to be any other kind of role model or anything else? I mean, if you're, lying and bullshitting yourself or, I think that, and I think another quality would be the ability to humility, to be humble, to ask for help, to be spiritually minded without worrying about what people think, that kind of stuff.
What is your biggest regret?
That's the sneaky one. I didn't see that on the list.
It wasn't on the list. I just added it.
Yeah, I know.
You're so nice.
I don't know. That's a tough one.
That's good though. That's good.
Yeah.
Means you've, you don't have to have any regrets if everything teaches you. All right, Graham. Well, that's it for the regular questions. Flown through them already.
Oh, is that quick? I don't know.
No, it's a half hour.
Oh, that's not bad. Yeah.
No, not at all. And we're not done. We have some bonus questions coming up. So, yeah, I want to thank everybody for joining us for the regular portion of the show. Encourage you to go to 13questionspodcast.com. You can check out our prompted writing courses, journaling courses that come out. Got a newsletter. We've got forums. We've got the Discord you can go to and hang out. And we've got some writing courses for communication in there. TJ Walker, over $200 worth. Sign up there. You'll get 2 episodes, 2 interviews like this a week, 2 bonus podcasts, bonus questions a podcast to you. So yeah, sign up today. All right, Graham, you ready for part 2?
Let's do it.
All right, the bonus round. Welcome back. What would you tell your teenage self?
Of course, my initial reaction to this was like, stay away from the hard drugs, like don't do that kind of stuff. But then I wouldn't be where I am. And I don't regret that. I don't really regret going down that. I had to do that. And a lot of that it wasn't all disastrous. I mean, I had a lot of good times and I had a lot of connections with people throughout that whole thing. Like, it wasn't,
I don't want no Hawaii. I don't want no Hawaii. Yo, what? I don't want no Hawaii. I don't want no Hawaii. Yo, what? I don't want no Hawaii. I don't want no Hawaii. Yo, what? I don't want no Hawaii. I don't want no Hawaii. Yo, what? I don't want no Hawaii. I don't want no Hawaii. Yo, what? I don't want no Hawaii. I don't want no Hawaii. Yo, what?
Why is one man rich and another man poor? Why we ain't satisfied? Why we gotta have more? Why your suicide rates on the rest so high? Why I tell you the truth but you say don't lie? Why is being a good father at an all-time low? Why is it acceptable? Yo, why? I don't know. Why she blame him and he blame her? It's useless. Ask yourself this question. Why you making excuses? Why do parents gotta bury their kids? Why we text and drive, not caring how scary it is? Why it's so hard to forgive and leave the past behind? And if you did, then that's divine. Why don't you help your brother when you see him fall? Why do we act like God don't see it all? Why do we call them black, them white, them Asians and use labels? Now that's racism.
I don't want no Hawaii.
Why?
I don't want no Hawaii. Yo, why? I don't want no Hawaii.
Why?
I don't want no Hawaii. Yo, why? I don't want no Hawaii.
Why?
I don't want no Hawaii. Yo, why? I don't want no Hawaii.
Why?
I don't want no Hawaii. Yo,
Why is
why?
there innocent people locked up for life, while some people can't say nothing nice? Why do we always gotta question what all of it means? And why won't you follow your dreams? Tell me why. The night when you took my dad, why'd you let me see my grandpa cry? And tell me why. And why do you choose to hide, even though you was born to fly? And tell me why. And why don't we turn from all the hate? And why don't we learn from all mistakes? Why do I keep on wrecking these fat beats? And teachers don't make more than professional athletes? And why? And why? And why? And why? And why? And why?
I don't want no Hawaii.
Why?
I don't want no Hawaii. Yo, why? I don't want no Hawaii.
Why?
I don't want no Hawaii. Yo, why? I don't want no Hawaii. I don't want no Hawaii. Yo, why? I don't want no Hawaii. I don't want no Hawaii. Yo, why?
This should be considered entertainment and not therapy. We hope you benefit from our resources available at 13questionspodcast.com. Thank you for listening.